I have a friend. She's a content creator. She was doing it on the side. It was a side business, but she realized that content creation is under marketing or advertising. So she went to school to do a master's in marketing and international communication. At the end of the day, because she has this certification, it gives her a leverage. People would want to go here for more knowledge in content creation than someone who's been doing content creation for over a decade. Do you know why?
And I assure you that her leverage was not the master. She's not the first person with a master. She's not the only one with a master.
No, that is not the point. That's not the
applies
point.
For the same
The point
job.
is that
but her experience.
No. At the end of the day,
Four voices, one real question. Is university education really worth it in Ghana?
Hi, I'm Ato. I'm a legal researcher.
My name is Kekeli. I am an academic.
I'm a I'm a production specialist with PIVA, Finam Industries.
hi, my name is Ajwa. I'm a gender advocate and education activist, and I'm here on today's episode to discuss whether or not university education is relevant in Ghana. I am of the view that it is very, very important, is very relevant, and let's see how it goes on today's Banta. Stick and stay.
I'm of the view that it's almost not worth it. Most of the time, employers just want experience, no matter what type of degree that you have. But we'll talk about it more with the other panelists.
It's a topic I find quite common. I've heard a lot of arguments going both ways that it's not necessary. There are great people who don't have university degrees and so on. So I'm quite excited to hear what will be said. And I'm quite excited to, get into it and banter as it is.
And of course, I'm of the view that a university degree is extremely important for an individual. I'm here to see what the opposing panelists will have to say about the topic and debate them vigorously on this topic.
From the cost of school to life after graduation, degrees to actual opportunities, this goes beyond the classroom. It's about the reality people are facing. Let's find out. A university degree gives you credibility in Ghana's job market, even if it's outside your field.
3, 2, 1.
Yeah, I think it does because most entry-level jobs have a basic requirement of a university degree.
Yeah.
Very simple. It may be in a specific field, but almost always it's a basic requirement to have a university degree.
Yeah. I also agree because once you've gone through the university system, it is believed that you have some level of maturity and openness to learning. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, when it comes to university degree, there is the presumption that you understand certain life skills, the ability to research, the ability to be a team player, the ability to engage with complex subject and complex subject in order to come to reasonable conclusions and all of that. So having a university degree is extremely important and it helps you even when you are not in the field within which you studied for.
Yeah.
For me, it's really not important because we have so many graduates in the system that most jobs, most employers, they have made it a criteria or a threshold. So if I have 1,000 people applying and I have 100 graduates, it means I immediately have cut off 900 people. It doesn't necessarily mean those 100 people are appropriate for the job I want them to do. I could have high school people who could do it because most entry jobs are administrative jobs or they don't require much technical know-how. So I don't think it's relevant. It's mostly just a cutoff point.
But I think some of them actually do require some level of experience. And that is why most of the university or the tertiary institutions have incorporated the habit of doing attachment or internships. This is so that whatever you're learning in school, you get the opportunity to put them into practice and then also learn from the people or the organization that you're working for. So say you go to school to do mechanical engineering. And then you get the opportunity to do your internship with an organization or a company that is into that. And then you're able to practice and they also teach you some things. Even when you're done with school, once they see that you have gone through the university system where you have gained some form of internship or opportunity to practice what you have learned in school, they believe that you can do the job. At least if you come in, because you have gone through the university system, and the university system requires discipline. It requires some form of hard work and discipline. So once you have gone through it, they can give you the opportunity to say, we can teach this person because you have the degree for it, and you are also open to learning because, of course, you didn't have any idea about mechanical engineering even before you went to tertiary. So, yeah.
But you've just proved my point. You said a 4-year education system is just to show that you have an endurance, you have a capacity to learn, and not that you have actually learned.
I did not limit my points to just having endurance. That's my point.
It says it's part of it.
Yes, it's part of it. Once you've been able to go through 4 years of rigorous academic studies, it is believed that you can commit to something. Some people go to school and they drop out. But once you've been able to commit to it, it means that you have a level of commitment. You have some sense of commitment and attachment to whatever thing you're doing. You want to see the end of everything you start.
And just to add on, I'm going to bring up something Atu said before, that it's a presumption.
Yeah.
Because there's a saying that not even the devil knows the heart of a man. How are we to know if truly you have learned something?
Yeah.
We can't know that for every single person. And so we have devised for ourselves an objective standard that says that, this person is presumed to know X, Y, and Z. Maybe they paid lecturers and they got their degree. Maybe their parents are prominent people, so they never actually went to class. Maybe they were involved in inappropriate activity, but it is a presumption. And it is easier for us to start. There's the same way you mentioned 1,000, where if there are 1,000 people, 100 people have degrees, it's easier for me to start with the 100 people that I can presume have the ability to do the thing before I get to the other 900.
Yes.
That's not to say that the 100 people they can actually do it, but it's an objective standard by which we can go.
Yeah.
And then from there, we will see.
At all.
And another thing is, you should understand that businesses are there to make money.
Yeah.
So there was the need for it to be as efficient as possible. So when applicants bring their CVs or their applications for an interview, it's so much more easier, faster, efficient to just cut off all those who don't have that presumption of a certain level of qualification in order to just keep your business ticking on and to keep things moving faster. So the university degree in and of itself is an important criteria that needs to be met in order to be employed or in order to show employable skills.
Yeah. And also, if we stratify between work that is purely manual labor, purely, you're carrying from year to year to year. There's a guy that says, "Don't treat you condemn." If it is that you're doing, or you're doing any form of actual academic work, if we separate between the two, if it's purely, manual labor and in no form of real analysis or logical critical thinking is necessary, then sure, I guess it wouldn't be that much of a priority. But where, even in an administrative role, in today's age, tech is advancing. The very tools that we use in the most basic administrative roles are going ahead further and further and further. Now, even being an assistant, people are taking courses in being virtual assistants.
Yes.
So the idea that you don't need a degree is just your ability to work is a little concerning.
But there are other forms of education besides the university education.
Sure.
Yeah.
Outside of high school, there are certificates, there are diplomas, which are not necessarily graduate courses, which actually qualify people a bit more for specific roles.
Sure.
I mean, if someone has a diploma in IT or a specialized certificate in IT, he most definitely will do well better than someone who just went through the 4 years. General education.
I don't agree.
Because in his class, there are 100 people. Okay, give or take. And then in a certificate class where he's doing purely practical, there's no theory whatsoever, or there's very little theory. Everything that he's doing in a certificate course and a diploma course is exactly what he will be applying out there. And immediately he applies, or immediately he speaks in an interview, he shows technical know-how, as compared to someone who finished the 4 years and went in there and is talking about theory.
But here, I don't know if you're done with this.
But do you see the points?
I get your point, but you also need to understand that.
Okay, let's and then there's also the fact that the market is saturated. Every year we have 100,000 graduates.
So how do you
give
prove,
or take?
How do you prove to
They
the
have
people?
100,000, and because we have so much of them in the system, businesses have raised their standards just because they can pay a graduate to do something someone with a diploma can't. If they could pay people with a PhD to do what someone with a diploma could, and there were more PhD people in the system, they would definitely raise this.
Yeah.
They would
Exactly.
definitely hire them.
It's actually the reverse.
Yeah,
Yes.
I want to address
You
the
pay
two
people
things.
with the lesser
Yes.
qualifications to do
So
their
that's
job
what
so
I'm
that you
saying.
can
The
pay
same
them
job.
less.
Yeah, so I'm saying that you pay someone who has a PhD, someone like a diploma salary, because let's say there are more PhD people in the system, there are more graduate people in the system. Imagine you have a master's and you are going for an entry level job because you don't have a job or because job search is hard, because there are a lot of people in the system who need jobs.
Okay.
When you go into the entry role, you would definitely not take a master's level salary. You still take the entry level salary.
But you might
No.
be paid a little higher.
You
than
might be
base.
paid a
You
little
won't,
higher.
because you
No.
are overqualified
So
for the job.
exactly.
Even police service, if you go with degree, though.
Yeah, yes, it's different.
more
Yes.
than-
There are rare cases. They are
No, they are
those
not rare
actually
cases.
rare cases.
They could actually.
Because-
I want to address something. The first example you gave about someone who's done a diploma in IT,
Yeah.
that's necessarily a niche thing. You've done something that is specific in one direction. But that also means that your certification is limited to that one direction. If that is, those are the only jobs that you are looking for, fair. I can't really fight you with that. But as against someone who has a university degree, who can also then do the same diploma that you are doing.
Exactly.
In addition, I struggle to see the how it is necessarily better. That's one. Two, when you come to the issue of oversaturation of candidates in the space, what I tend to find is that because there are so many people, in the end, the degree is still the baseline.
Yeah.
Even if there are so many people, the degree is still the baseline. So employers would then want, as you said, to hire people who are less qualified to do work that, because they know they want to save money and they can pay you less. So get the degree so you can earn more.
But you do realize, like, and you do realize in summary that a university education is at least 4 years.
Yes.
But diplomas could be 1 month to 2 years. Like that's the longest
But-
I have seen.
And that is what.
shows
which
the-
which would qualify you and which would show you that you are qualified for the same job that someone who did the 4 years education is also applying.
No.
that comparison is very wild.
It's very wild.
No, it's
very,
not
very
wild.
wild.
If I do data analysis, a data
In a
analysis
month- in a
diploma
month.
in 6 weeks or 2 months, and you also did,
I did
let's
something
say,
similar for 4 years.
social studies 4 years.
You can't compare that person to the other. Yeah.
If universities were not worth it, employees in Ghana would still not demand degrees.
3, 2, 1.
When you look at the job market, right, as we've established, the baseline right now in terms of job seeking is you need to have a degree. So the importance of the degree in itself, if it doesn't even get you the job, allows you to be part of a select pool of people that are eligible for that position. So that in itself is enough to show the importance of a degree. If it gives you, or if it places you in a special class or pool of people that are eligible for a job, then that in itself is it's being worth it as an important tool in your arsenal for job seeking.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is where I don't agree.
Okay.
Okay, it's just a subset. And the funny thing is, when they ask for entry-level jobs, because those are what university graduates are going for, or those are what they are qualified for, you see something like 3 years experience, a minimum of 2 years experience. Or even if they are just entry-level jobs, when you enter, you have to go through training, or you have to take an aptitude test. So if truly just your university degree qualifies you for it, why are there extra hoops that you have to jump through just to qualify for the job?
I think it's important to note that employers themselves recognize that your degree is not just for the specific field in which you do. Most universities will teach you logic, critical thinking, analytical skills, things of that nature. I also think that objectively, the one question we have to ask ourselves is that employers, objectively, if you are given 2 applications, one comes by a person with a degree, one comes by a person without a degree, they have no other differentiating factors. Nothing like work experience, nothing. No other differentiating factors. You would most likely pick the person with the degree.
Exactly.
So I think that answers it.
And you need to understand that if you have committed 4 years of your life into studying a specific thing, like let's say computer science, obviously, if you do a certification program, you've limited yourself to just one part of the study. Unlike someone doing computer science or someone who has a degree in computer science going and needing to go through the whole 4 years of experience where they're exposed to other components or other parts of IT like MIS, hardware designing and even fixing and all of that. So I think,
You mentioned something that I'm very curious about.
Yeah.
Why do they still require you to do training and everything? I think it is important for us to understand the nuance points that the fact that our current curricula do not sufficiently train students for the job market does not in and of itself mean that the degree is worthless.
But you are making my point for me.
Not necessarily.
No.
Not necessarily.
No, you are making
Not
my
necessarily.
point.
May I give you an example? I will use the age-old story of free SHS. Most people recognize that the idea of universal senior high secondary school education for every single person is an absolutely wonderful thing.
True.
But most people, I would say a fair number of people would take issue with en masse admission without any form of checks to ensure that the system is able to handle it. You understand?
Yeah.
So those two things can be true at the same time. As they say, two legends can coexist. They can be true at the same time. In the same way, if me as an employer, I think that the current methods of training students do not provide enough students who have sufficient experience in the market, so I need to still train them. That does not necessarily mean the degree is worthless. Because there are students with degrees who have the work experience simply by doing extracurricular activities, by doing internships.
Exactly.
You understand?
Yes.
So,
but then you do agree that if it is necessary for training, it is necessary for other hoops that they have to jump through. It means that to a certain extent, then the degree's value has diminished. Especially,
Not really. Yes.
Not at all.
okay, fine.
And I don't even think that it means it has been diminished. It just shows that the criteria is a little higher than the degree.
Okay.
But the degree is a starting point.
Yes.
Such that without the degree, you don't even qualify to be part of the small pool of people that are then handpicked with the aptitude test and the other things that will catch
So
you.
what's in Ghana here? What's the most common job that you hear of aptitude tests?
Communication jobs.
What straight away comes to mind is bank jobs. Bank
Yes.
tellers, cashiers, and so on and so
Right.
forth. Okay.
Right.
Most of the time, they work with either computer systems and simple addition and subtraction. Okay. And everybody, when I say everybody, whether you did science, you did art, you did social studies, you did odontology, and no offense to them in any
Shout out to the
way.
odontology students.
Yes. You did performing arts. As far as you're able to pass that aptitude test, you qualify for that teller job.
Okay.
Now, you do agree that
It doesn't automatically qualify you.
You do agree that
Let's let him
although
learn.
all
It's
of
turbulence,
them,
but let's let him learn.
all of them went through the 4 years. They
Okay.
studied totally different things.
Right.
Okay. And with the exception of maybe English and math, which your high school person can do, your diploma person can do, your certificate person can do. So what makes it like, what reason should the employer take this
So
people?
let me give you an example. I'm a communication professional. I have been doing communication for a very long time. Now, the point is, a lot of people can speak. A lot of people can be public speakers, but you always see the distinction between someone who is a trained communication professional and someone who learned on the job. I got the opportunity to learn on the job, but when I went back to school to learn communication as a whole full course degree program, I even did development communication for my master's. If I'm speaking and there's someone who has no special training or no degree to show for it, you see the difference. Yeah. That is even on the side. Now, if you're applying for a job, how do you tell someone that you have experience in communication? If you put it on your CV that you've been a public speaker, you've done so and so, it doesn't qualify you. But once I have the degree, they see Bachelor of Arts in Communication Studies. They believe that I can do the job just because I went through it. And
No,
mind
but you know now there are portfolios.
But the thing is, yes, you have portfolio. But then at the end of the day, on so there are practices, there are certain do's and don'ts of every practice, and those things are usually taught in school. There are some things that you cannot you even though you think you are doing the right thing, you are doing the right thing. At the end of the day, the professionals will see the loopholes in whatever you've delivered. So that is where the certification and the school, the university degree comes in.
There's an analogy I typically like to use whenever this conversation comes up. That think of it like we are running a race, right? The degree puts all of us at the same starting line.
Yeah.
If you don't have a degree, you are behind the line. It doesn't mean you won't win. No. It doesn't mean you can't win. You can. You understand what I'm saying? So for everything that you have, it makes you, so the bank example you gave, unfortunately, I don't know too well the courses they are supposed to do. So I will assume accounting. Accounting will make you more favorable.
Banking and finance.
If the degree puts all of us at the starting line, if you have done something in banking and finance or accounting, it puts you ahead of the starting line. If you don't have degree, you are behind the starting line. It's not to say that you cannot win. It's not to say that you cannot be the one, if we are doing the interview, it's not to say that you cannot be the one who would then be chosen or selected. But clearly, it is easier for that person than it is for you.
Yeah.
That doesn't make the degree worth it.
I actually love this analogy. I do love this one.
I think the example you gave proves our points for us. Because when you started with your banking example, right, you mentioned all courses with degrees. Yeah. So even then, you are sort of appreciating the advantage the degree gives you, whether it is dondology, whether it is political science, whatever at all it is, it still gives you that advantage. And from your example, you're acknowledging the fact. So clearly, it shows that the degree is of the utmost importance when it comes to job seeking.
Yeah. And I have a friend, she's a content creator. She was doing it on the side. It was a side business. But she realized that content creation is under marketing or advertising. So she went to school to do a master's in marketing and international communication. At the end of the day, because she has this certification, it gives her a leverage. People would want to go here for more knowledge in content creation than someone who's been doing content creation for over a decade. Do you know why?
And I assure you that her leverage was not the master. She's not the first person with a master. She's not the only one with a master.
No, that is not the point. That's not the point.
For the same
the point
job.
Is that
but her experience.
No. At the end of the day,
and if I spend 4 years in school, if I spend 4 years in school, and someone spends 2 years doing a diploma, which has a summary of what you did. Let's say all of us, computer science degree, 4 years, computer science diploma, 2 years. And then after 2 years, I enter the job market. When you come in, you may have had internships, short stints here and there. Put together will not even be 6 months.
Okay.
You understand?
Okay.
At the time, at the time that I'm also going to apply for maybe my second job at the time, I would already have 2 years experience. And 2 years experience with up-to-date standards. Whereas we all agree that the Ghanaian university system curriculum is archaic at best.
Okay.
And it's not up to standard with what the employers out there are given. So, I mean, it's up to you to actually see my point.
I still think that the university degree gives you a leverage. It gives you some form of leverage for employers to say, yes, let's give this person a chance, unlike someone who doesn't have a degree at all.
Okay.
In Ghana, if you do not study a professional course, your degree is basically decoration.
3, 2, 1.
You cannot say that. You cannot say that.
So I'm going to start off with where all your arguments have been coming from. The fact that it puts you on a certain starting line. And for you to say that about someone spending 4 years learning one particular thing alone makes, I think, to me, the word reduce. Because if I had to go and enter specifically computer science, enter specifically biochemistry, and it puts me on just the same starting line as every other person who had the same basic degree, except of course professional courses, then what's the worth? And we are all going to be chasing the same jobs because all of them show that we have endurance. All of them show that we have discipline or commitment to have stuck to one thing. All of them show that we have the ability to learn, research, and do critical thinking, analysis, and so on and so forth. So, I mean...
I will first premise this by saying that maybe I'm being hypocritical by speaking like this because I did do a professional course. But I think that the very nature of the society we exist in requires a great deal of diversity in the way we think, in the things we learn, in the things we apply. Now, I will say that in the current society we have, there's a bit of a disconnect between what you learn translating into what you work with. That's fair. I think that's a fair argument. But to say that it is merely decoration, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think that if we work towards a better society where there were more opportunities for people based on what they studied in school, that would be great. But also, that's not necessarily a bad thing because it feeds into diversity. When you have a workspace where you have people of different and diverse backgrounds who can speak to different things. So,
I see someone who has a lot of professional certificates without having a university degree as someone who has commitment issues, because in fact you need a lot of dedication and resilience and determination to be able to finish a university degree. So if you are always doing short courses in so many things, even if it's just one area, but you're doing short courses, why don't you just commit? Do the 4 years, especially when the job market demands it or is heavily dependent on it. Just commit to it and let us see that you really do have commitment, high level of commitment, and you can do the job should we give you the opportunity. Because if you do short courses, I feel like you run away after a month or two when we give you the job.
Also, I think this particular question is relevant in our domestic setting because of the scarcity of jobs, right? In other more developed countries, it is easier to make ends meet because of how developed the economy is, which leads to a lot of niche jobs being present. So whatever course or whatever you study in university, it can easily translate into a wealth of job paths, right? So you can do political science and you can be a policy analyst, or you can be a political analyst. You know, these sort of jobs are not really prevalent in our side of the world as are now. So that is why this conversation can come up in our setting, right?
Yeah.
However, when you look at other professional courses, I think they are of the utmost importance because looking at things outside of even the job market, we know the role university plays. It helps you to broaden your understanding. It helps you to be able to think in an abstract manner, appreciating things like philosophy, you know, and all of that, physics and, you know, all these other courses. So it doesn't necessarily behoove on us to limit the discussion.
But you know, in Ghana, people are not thinking about self-actualization. They are not thinking about getting to understand things. They are thinking about what to eat. The majority of the population is thinking about where our next source of income is coming. The reason why your parents are paying your school fees for you to go to university is because, let's say, they think when you finish, you get a job. Now, if I'm not doing a professional course and I've finished university and I'm not getting a job, which is the most likely situation if you do not do a professional course, because now you're going to hustle with every other course who is not a professional course for the same job, as we have already spoken about. So what's the point? It's like I did it. Yay, achievement award. I hung it on the wall. But then I'm not getting a job.
No.
I'm not getting anything to do with it. Yes, I have the knowledge, but what's the use?
So now let's delve into even the technical courses, like the STEM related courses, the TVET STEM related courses like welding, building and construction, dispensing technology. These are jobs that people used to learn. They don't necessarily need a certification for, but now we see that there are degrees in those courses, like dispensing technology.
But I will argue those are professional courses.
No, those are not professional. Those are not.
The argument with a professional course is that it has a set path line directly into a job.
No,
If
no.
I did welding, automatically I'm a welder. If I did carpentry, automatically I'm a carpenter. Just like you did medicine.
But I don't think that's what
I'm
the
saying.
professional course is, though.
That's what I'm saying. If you do a professional course for like 3 months, and then I go to the university to study carpentry for 4 years, get a degree in carpentry, I would have an advantage over you because, like I said, at the university level, you are not just doing one thing. You are exposed to so many different areas of that particular.
I think his argument is that all of them are professional courses.
No. So yes, my argument is that that is a professional degree.
Even that is
a professional degree. It's a professional course.
But
it's like we are limiting it to think maybe law and medicine.
No.
But the others which have a set point,
No.
the others which have a profession at the end of the line. You understand? A set profession at the end of the line.
No, I think so.
I feel like that's a very wide definition.
It's a very wide definition. I think.
Like
Okay, so
let's
how
look
would
at
you
it.
define it
I
then?
will not define university degree as a professional course, in the sense that I'm trying to. If I separate the university degree from the professional course, I am looking at university.
In case someone asks what the professional degree is, a degree that leads directly to a clearly defined, regulated career path with a known job pipeline.
Exactly.
Regulated career
And then
Regulated career
and then
path.
university
What
degree.
outcome?
With a known job pipeline.
So my point
I mean, when
is
you say,
First
say-
of all,
so sorry.
carpentry and the rest are not regulated.
Joinery.
No,
They are not-
they are
when you-
regulated
when I
to a
say
certain
regulated.
extent.
They are,
Yes.
they are.
By whom?
What are the laws that regulate carpentry in Ghana?
By whom? Regulated by whom?
They are skilled workers and they are under labor. They are under
But sorry, that's
But
not
the
regulation.
thing is,
No, they have regulation.
The labor
By
laws
whom?
protect their interests. It does not regulate the work.
The
the
work
work
they
they
do.
do.
You understand?
Do you get
That's
it?
so-
no.
So at the end of the day, someone who goes to the university to do carpentry, we believe that the person has had a certain level of exposure as compared to someone who just did 3 months apprenticeship with a carpenter.
And also, even the professional jobs, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm aware that I would consider engineering to be a professional path, right?
Yes.
But there are still a lot of engineers who are unemployed,
Yes.
unless I'm mistaken.
Yes.
Exactly.
Same for lawyers.
It's the same
And even-
for
even
exactly.
even with doctors.
So
they are
you
all
are
leaving
making
the
my
country.
points for me.
No, we are
actually,
not
because
making your points for you.
no.
Actually, we are not.
If even
They are not-
if even them are not employed,
No.
No, we are not.
If even them are not employed,
Exactly, we are drawing
no,
the
let's
line.
not forget.
We are drawing the line first.
Let's not forget. Okay, that at the end of the day, your degree, your qualification, the point that we are trying to banter right now is if it's a decoration. And if you are not employed, it is basically decoration in your
It's
room
not
or wherever you are
decoration.
hanging.
Then it doesn't
It's
work.
not
Then if we use
decoration.
the
It's
argument,
not
then it doesn't work
decoration.
because
No,
there are
no,
lots.
if
So in
you
the
are
same
not
way, there are lots of
practicing-
professionals who
If-
do not have work
Right.
that they are doing in the moment. Are you then saying that their degrees and whatever certification they have is
At least they have an
decoration?
advantage
Decoration.
on the job
Oh, I don't
market.
think so.
They have
He's
an
not
advantage
using it.
because
I don't think
should
so.
there be
He's
an
not
opening
using
right
it.
now?
That makes
She's
it a
not
decoration.
using it.
Should there be an opening right now? They will consider the degree holders
Above you.
above you people.
You can
Maybe-
consider
maybe
me
say you
above,
people
but
sound
if
stupid.
No,
If I'm not- if I'm not
you people are
practicing
saying your stance, like the
Yeah,
people
the
that
people who are covered by
you are
position.
advocating
Yeah.
for.
Yes.
Do you get me? If even though we all do not have jobs, at the end of the day, because I have a degree, I would be considered over you. I have an advantage over you because you only have a professional certificate and it was just for like 3 months or 2 months or even a month. Now there are professional certificates for like a month or two. But me, I go to the university to do 4-year carpentry degree and you have certificates. Me, I have an advantage.
if the person was doing an apprenticeship, the person would not be sitting at home. The person will be working with their master, as is said in Ghana. The person will actively be working and earning an income, however small it is. Whereas you, with your decoration, hanging in your room that you did carpentry for 4 years, are now seeking employment.
But quick one. I just want to point out that even without having a job, the advantages university affords you is of the utmost importance,
Yes.
right?
Okay.
Outside of the fact that you get skills and all those things, it opens doors for you in terms of networking.
Yes.
Socially opens you up to a wider array of people. There are so many people that you have no way of meeting unless you go through that system.
University,
You
yeah.
understand? So if you look at this from that standpoint, you can't then come and say that, well, I don't have a job, so everything that I've gone through, all the experiences that I've built, even the social skills, everything else that you've been able to develop during that 4-year period is just worthless because I don't have a job.
So wait, that same 4 years, okay.
Right.
Did you ever have a course mate in your first degree or
Of
in
course.
any of your degrees
Of
where
course.
they ran the 4 years with you, but they didn't get the final certificate with you?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you also agree that these same people have the same network because they did the 4 years with you? They see they got to know you. They had the same exposure. They had the same, to a certain extent, knowledge. But they unfortunately they didn't have the same degree.
Right.
Okay, so those extra things that you are talking about, if we are predicating it on having the degree, then of course it's decoration still.
It's not decoration.
Because then if the guy who didn't get a degree but just spends 4 years with you has all the other things,
but
and the only other thing that makes the degree worth it is having a job in which you are practicing or earning with.
I think that's a very narrow scope
Yes.
of looking at the importance
Yes.
of a degree.
So,
it is way
and
too
you
narrow.
mentioned I'm actually arguing against
The ne-
exactly what you said.
Even with
The
the-
other things the degree does for you.
Right.
So
Yes.
give me another point where I can say for a fact that if I don't have it at all, I don't have the degree at all, then I can't.
Now, let
Even
me-
someone who did the same 4 years with you who didn't earn it, who didn't earn the degree, does not have. Give me a point of that.
So let me tell you something.
Will
Even with the
personal experience suffice?
You want to give an anecdote?
yes,
Yes. So, quick one,
Yeah.
right? We know the story of Mark Zuckerberg, right?
Yeah.
We know he went to university, Harvard, if I'm not mistaken, and he met with some friends, worked on his app, it blew up, he dropped out of school, stuff like that, right? There are other people with such stories as well. They went to university, of course, they didn't necessarily end up with a degree, but then due to the connections that they formed in university, they've been able to, build on that to get jobs and all
Yeah.
of that. So to say that a university degree is worthless without having a job,
a job.
I mean, it's not a statement I can agree with.
Yeah, I don't. I also don't agree.
But the fact that there are examples, which you just gave, many of them, so to speak, where people literally went in there, saw it was not worth it, and dropped out and made something of themselves. Not those who were forced to drop out, but those who went in there and evaluated for themselves that, look, this is not worth it. This is a waste of time. And most of the times, 80 to 90% of those people who decided for themselves, not that the school kicked them out, that it was not worth it, made something of themselves. And that alone proves my point.
That 80 to 90 is
I don't agree to the statistics.
that is, you put that stat out.
Yeah, I don't agree.
If a course does not translate into real opportunities, universities should not offer it.
3, 2, 1.
Consistency.
All right, so we are in a country where most people will refer to as a third world country. I know we always try to fight against it and just call ourselves a developing country. But let's be honest. A lot of the jobs that are out there that we train people for, biotechnology, molecular biology, nuclear science, and so on and so forth. And that's just the sciences. Then there's a whole lot in the arts that there's no relevance immediately when they finish the job or they finish the degree. It just says they have the knowledge, and applying it becomes so difficult for them. So why should the universities be offering those courses? Why should they be teaching those courses when their relevance is diminished because the people cannot immediately apply it, or they don't even know how they can apply it in the system?
My point will be very simple, precise and concise. Some people go to school just to get exposed to a certain level of knowledge and experience, not necessarily for the job market. So the fact that I have gone to school to do 4 years of history studies doesn't necessarily mean I want to work with it. I probably would want to, even if I want to work, it's not necessarily writing history books and all of that. I could even end up teaching people, just educating people, sharing my thoughts on what I have studied so far. So it's not necessarily about if there are no opportunities. There are always opportunities. You just have to see. You just have to see it or look for it. There are always opportunities. Once you've earned a degree, there's always an opportunity for you to.
See, to an extent, I almost agreed with you when you went on the tangent of we're a third world country. So, as much as possible, jobs should be, degrees should be geared towards jobs, you understand? But then that is a very narrow scope of looking at things, right? Because we are in a society and we have a culture. Society and culture is always predicated on the older generation passing on, the history, the conventions, practices to the new generation. Now, a society that is always fixated just on survival, just how its people can eat, will be doomed from at a certain point in time because you can't then pass on your history, your culture, your languages, all those things. Recently, there was this dance teacher at Lagos, right, who has gotten a little viral because of
a professor,
actually, yes. And he had this interview with Kafuide, and he was just talking about how it is so important that as a people, we keep on preserving our culture, preserving our practices, and keeping it going, passing it down to the new generation, right? So these courses in universities are there to preserve who we are as a people.
Exactly.
Right. So we also need to look at things from that perspective as well.
I think additionally that, first of all, that may be true to you if you think about the job market as only Ghanaian.
Yeah.
The universities also train Ghanaians and international students who intend to take their skills abroad to where such opportunities exist. Additionally, some courses are taken by certain individuals as top-ups to what they have.
Yeah.
Because it is more relevant to whatever field that they are working in.
Yeah.
So if, let's say, somebody will tell you that what are you going to use gender
studies.
Gender studies, what are you going to use it for? But let's say I happen to be a judge who works in divorce court or family court. Something of that nature is relevant to what I am doing.
Exactly.
So, or I'm a social worker, for example. Social workers often do family things. It is relevant to study that to add to what I already have, which is a baseline. So I think it's very problematic for us to think about it strictly by, what job will you get? You understand? That type of thing.
And let me use myself as an example. I did my first degree in communication studies, journalism, like I specialized in journalism. But for my first master's, I did development communication, also because I was working in an NGO. I have worked in the international NGO space for a very long time. And then because I have worked my organization was a diplomatic one. Because of our engagement with other diplomats, other people in the NGO spaces, I decided, okay, what course do I think will be relevant to me at this particular moment? Out of boredom, I just went to study international relations for my second master's. Because I just wanted to be exposed to that knowledge. I wanted to understand the nitty-gritties of diplomacy so that even though I'm already practicing diplomacy in my work, but once I have the certification, it gives me some form of leverage. It opens up my mind to what I am doing currently.
Your points, both yourself and Kekeli, show that both the things you are talking about have relevance to you, to the judge, not to the one who is just entering university. And the point I'm trying to make here is based on the fact that most often than not, they do not actually have a choice on what they are going to study. You pick 3 choices when you are going to study in university, and the university can give you something most often than not, especially if you have a bit lower grade. They give you something that is not your choice. So way, no way related to it. And because you have to go to university, you go and do it. Sometimes your third choice is like even your second choice. Because let's say you went out there, you decided, I want to be a psychologist. And then you put social studies, you put administration for your second and third choice, just because you have to fill them. And you cannot complete the form without filling them. Those are not the things you want to do.
Okay.
And they do not have relevance to you.
Why did you choose them as part of your 3 courses to study?
So wait, you doing international relations makes it relevant to you. You doing gender studies as a judge makes it relevant to you. Now this person, because he had, let's say, those 3, and the computer, it comes up and they say, okay, well, it's kind of related to history.
Yeah, but
Let him go and do
prompt,
history.
The prompt says that if the course does not lead you directly to a job, it should not be taught.
But that's
Exactly.
There's always an opportunity. It
No,
leads you to
so
a
when you-
specific
so
job.
the person-
hold on,
the
hold on,
person-
hold
the
on.
person-
How do we determine which courses do not lead to jobs?
So you see, in the examples that the two of you gave, you already had jobs,
So
No.
I'm asking you one second.
and those were add-ons.
A job like a course like the gender
Studies at the
most people
bachelor's
would
degree
consider
level.
that to not lead you to a job. Am I
Yes.
mistaken?
Yes.
So should we
at
scratch
the
that
bachelor's level? It should,
So it should be a
scratched.
purely
No.
master's degree.
It
No.
could be a top up. It could
No.
be an
Because
add-on. It
once-
could be a
so
master's.
that is
But
why I'm saying-
to give someone entering into the job market, entering out into the world, that immediately gender.
You
studies.
can become a gender. So
in
if
Ghana.
you do, so
in Ghana.
let me explain.
And the topic here
Let
is
me-
Ghana.
Let me explain
The
to you.
topic here is Ghana, not foreign students.
Exactly.
Not students who are going to work outside.
If you do
but in
gender
Ghana.
studies, if you do gender studies at the bachelor's degree level, you can become a gender specialist. You can work for organizations reviewing policies and looking at it from the gender lens or gender point of view and correcting the wrongs. You get a job. So
All
there's
100
always
all
there's
100 of
always
them
an
in the
opportunity.
class.
The thing is,
All
that's why
100
I
of them
said
in
some
the
people
class.
don't necessarily want to get a job. They didn't go to school just because they want to get. Some people just want to be exposed to it. So now, if I do gender studies, at the end of the day, even if I don't get to practice or find a defined job for it, I am aware of the knowledge I've been exposed to, and it would aid me in everything that I do. Do you get it? So it's still relevant.
It may be relevant, but then the argument here is most people who go to the university go to the university to seek employment afterwards.
And then
So if
That's a fair point.
That's a very fair point. And so if it's not going to lead me to a job, why should the university
No,
offer
but there's
that course?
always an
I can
opportunity.
agree with
conclusion-
you to
the conclusion is-
extent that they should not be compelled to do something. But now I think the compulsion is out of the reality because what you've chosen happens to be very well sought after.
Yeah.
So there isn't much we can do.
Yeah.
Not every course leads directly to job, but that doesn't make it worthless.
3, 2, 1.
This one we are unanimous.
Yeah. Finally, we agree to something.
I think
We all agree to something.
So, initially, I was saying that it shouldn't be offered, and that was based on the fact that most of the time they don't have a choice, and also on the fact that we have a very strict and very small job market. So if it's not leading to it, then it shouldn't be offered. But it doesn't make that course worthless.
Of course.
Like you said earlier,
Yeah.
some people just want to add to their knowledge. Some people do not need necessarily a job at the end of university, but the whole point is to have a certain exposure or experience.
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily make that course worthless. And it
Yeah.
should. It's fine.
I think for me, this matter is one that is very much on my heart because this anti-education thing that is going on now concerns me a lot. You see a lot of pseudo-intellectualism and people thinking they know simply because it's something they could easily Google and
Yeah.
answer, even
Yeah.
though that is not what it actually is. And it all comes out of this thinking that, if this thing doesn't lead me to a job, what's the point? Why am I even doing it?
Yeah.
Why should people be studying it? No. Information exists for a reason.
Yeah.
The university you are going to, you are learning decades of information. Yes, sometimes the information is outdated and it needs to be made better. Yours as a student is to identify that, this information is outdated.
Yeah.
I need to add to it and go further.
Yeah.
At this go to say, others have labored. We share
share
the
the
glory.
glory.
Ours is to do exploit and add. So you have to add to it.
Yeah.
In whatever you do. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you would want to go first.
I think when it comes to certain courses or when it comes to education as a whole, society develops at the rate at which it's able to gain or garner new information, right? So some courses are not necessarily meant to be ones that bring jobs or ones that give the masses a path to an occupation. They are just there in order to beef up society, right? There are jobs that lead to for an example, these climate-related discussions, right? It's there to protect us as a species, us as a population, the human beings, right? So when it comes to insect population and all those things, we need to know, yes, once their population starts a certain density, what it means for us and all of that. So these are causes that don't necessarily translate into jobs for the masses, but these are causes that end up protecting us as a civilization and us as a people. So they have their importance and they have their relevance in the world.
Yeah, personally, I have been in the social sciences field for a very long time doing communication. And so I see how it has influenced me, even taking away like my job. Once you're talking to me about something, because we do psychology as part of the courses that I did, as we did it as part of the courses. You do so many things, social anthropology of Africa, and you now get to understand why people behave a certain way and how you should communicate to somebody who behaves this or that way. So that exposure to knowledge alone is an addition to me, it's an add-on to me, because now if you are talking, there are people that I talk to and I tell my friends that this person is suffering from abandonment, but they may not necessarily know, but I can tell from how the person is behaving that this person lacks a certain form of like love and affection, and they are always projecting to people. Yeah, I'm able to tell, because the way you think, the way you behave, because I have been exposed to that knowledge based off of my education, I'm able to tell that, oh, this is what this person is going through. So it's not necessarily about getting a job right after school, but that's enlightenment you get, that kind of quote-unquote civilization you get after doing or taking on a degree, a university degree, actually is definitely worth it.
I think we have bantered a lot on the worth of university education in Ghana, and as my standpoint has been that it was almost worthless or diminished, and that's because of the climate in Ghana or the state of things in Ghana. How many jobs there are on the market as per the number of graduates, how many people are looking for a job, and the reasons why people actually go to the university in the first place. Majority of them, if we are being honest with ourselves, go there because they see it as a pathway or a certain guarantee for employment. So, or a livelihood, if we want to say. So if that is the reason why they are going there, and it is not guaranteeing them that, and then it diminishes its worth. And that has been my whole argument. Of course, it doesn't necessarily mean that all the other courses that they study there, just because they do not guarantee work, become worthless. So
I think another part I want to add is that in the bulk of this conversation, maybe we may seem privileged because we are talking about, degree, do the degree, do this. And then, of course, that comes with a certain ability to have a certain degree of resources to be able to do. Because when you check the statistics, the average Ghanaian actually has not gone that far. So it is important to recognize and say that the university degree, while it is an edge, it is not the end and be all of everything you do. In that there are also other pathways. Diplomas have been mentioned. Non-academic ways of getting employment have also been mentioned. And that is not to say that they are worthless neither. But if you have the means, my advice is always, if you have the means, do it. Then pursue whatever else you want to do. If you have the means as a starting point, do it. And then pursue whatever else you want to do.
In fact, I anticipate to see me in the PhD classroom. So,
Doctor. A degree hotter.
Hi, my name is Ajua, and I've had a wonderful time debating my co-panelist on whether or not university degree is relevant in Ghana here. Of course, I was for the motion. It was brilliant. I loved the brilliant submissions made by my colleagues, and I hope that you enjoyed this session. And yes, let us know what you think about whether university degree is still important or relevant in Ghana. We hope to see you in the next one.
Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Check out our social media platforms at Banta Space for more engagement. See you same time next week.